Welcome to video number 6, and in this particular video I'm going to show you how to map out a typical day of your perfect buyer. Now the reason why you want to do this is because you will get a better perspective of what they are dealing with from day to day, what frustrations they're dealing with, what gets them excited, what gets them mad, what gets them sad, and everything in between. So one of the best ways of doing this is simply really get yourself in the person's shoes. Now, like I said earlier, this is actually harder than it sounds. So the best way of doing this is by going to Google and typing out something like this. So obviously with gardening, the noun of gardening is gardener. So the type of person described in this particular niche is a gardener, right? So I'm going to type that in, gardener, and then I'm going to write the words, 2 words, typical day. Now, there's no guarantee you're not going to always 100% get this, but the nice thing is you're going to be able to see things like YouTube videos and other sorts of media, which we'll talk about in the video after this one. But this will allow you to kind of get into the shoes of someone who is a hyper-responsive buyer and perfect buyer in these niches. So another thing is gardener journals, taking a look at their day-to-day journals. If they have any, I'm sure they have blogs, I'm sure they have different things where they talk about their day. Obviously, an easier way of doing this is to go on a forum and maybe follow a person and see what they are saying. And you can also maybe even contact them and say, hey, I want to talk to you or interview or pay you money to interview you to get an idea of what your typical day looks like. But by doing this process, it's going to really help you out as far as figuring out what potential products and services they will want to buy. Obviously, different people are going to be different, so it's not really 100% one size fits all. But if you talk to a perfect buyer, you will get a better sense of what they are dealing with. So as you can see here, let's just go ahead and click through here. So a day in the life of a landscape gardener. A day in the life of a gardener working at this place, landscape gardener. Day in the life, a typical day. Cost of gardener. It's not what we're looking for. See, a day in the life. So I noticed there's a phrase going on here that's very, very similar. A day in the life of head gardener. So maybe I'm going to switch this around, because one thing you'll find out is as you are going through here, you'll notice that they use similar words over and over again. So gardener, a day in the life of a gardener. Ah, look at this. A day in the life of a head gardener. A day in the life of the organic gardener. We can see videos here too. And sometimes watching these videos will definitely help you get a better understanding. But in this specific method, I would just spend about 15 to half an hour to try to map this out. Life in a gardener. A day in the life of a gardener. So I think we have enough tabs open. So let's just take a look. So a typical day. So this is primarily a landscape gardener. It's maybe not what we're looking for, but at the same time, if you are doing landscape gardening and gardening design, kind of specialize in that area, you can read through here. We can see too many typical days for mowed dirt of green acres. So I guess I don't know if his real name is Mow Dirt, but if it is, he gets up and early enough to be at the yard by 6:30 a.m. After loading the extra tools he needs for the day into his already loaded white truck, and then he's on his way with his crew of 2 by 7 o'clock. The day has just begun and it has already begun to be monotonous. So it seems to me like this is a story, but this is a nice way to write it out. I mean, you can write it out this way, or you can even open up Notepad and just write it out. So we can say 6:30 a.m. We'll say 6:30 a.m. He's up. So we'll do 6:30, and you can do it by half an hour if you want to. You can do it by hour. Doesn't matter. Really, what the further you break it down, the better, obviously. So we can do 7 o'clock a.m. We could even do 6 a.m. So maybe they wake up at this time, or maybe they wake up here. I don't know. With gardening, if you think about it, once the sun rises, especially in the summertime, it gets really hot. So depending on where they are and what season it is, it can be different. But the majority of case, the gardeners that I know specifically, and you can begin to think of people that you know that actually fit this, but a gardener I know, he wakes up, and I know another gardener, she wakes up typically very early, because then you can start your day, you can be out in the nice cool weather, digging and pulling weeds and pruning and doing everything that gardeners love to do in the nice morning cool weather, because it does get hot outside. So we can think they, from about 5 to 6 a.m., they wake up, they get their breakfast and eat it. You can even think, like, what do they eat? You know, that could be potential product or service. And what do? Do they take their medication? You know, are they taking medication that will help them, you know, get excited about the day, get energized about the day? Maybe they eat, you know, supplements and medications, maybe B12 vitamins. Just write it out. There's no right or wrong answer right now. And 7:30 a.m., they're ready to get outside. They start preparing their gardening tools, maybe. By 8 a.m., they're outside. What are they doing outside? So let's just go look through here real quick. A day in the life of head gardener Dave West. Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit here. For 44 years, Dave West has worked as the head gardener of blah, blah, blah mansion. When Dave was hired in, we don't really need to know that. Let's see. Aha, look at that. 5:40 a.m. It's all about the weather. In the morning, my alarm goes off, and before I do anything else, I look out the window. The forecast is crucial in my profession. I watch the weather forecast and start to plan the day's activities. A plan for if it's dry, one for if it is wet. Look at that. So he has contingency plans for when it is rainy and when it is wet, so that he's always doing something. Although my daily routine remains the same, every day is different. Okay, so we could even adjust it according to Dave West. So he's more of the gardener that we're looking for. We're not really looking for a landscaping gardener. So we're going to follow him. 5 a.m. He wakes up. Rain or shine, he has a plan for each. So maybe, you know, gardening tools or rain, or shine and dry. So obviously they skip the part where he eats breakfast. So everybody has to eat. So by 7:30 a.m., as you can see here, this is when he starts work. But in between that, we have fulfilled these two items, right? So 7:30 a.m., the big clean, the six of us get everything clean, get everything ready, get their garden tools ready. So 11 a.m., manager's meeting. 11 11:30 a.m. is beginning to tend to the gardens. So it sounds like typical gardener who at this point all the way to 11:30 a.m. Some people generally start earlier. So but between that point 11 a.m. and well, we'll just say 10 a.m. So from 7:30 a.m. to about 9:30 a.m. start preparing their gardening tools, gardening equipment, preparation, and planning. Then by 10 a.m. they are outside and beginning to work. So right now 10 a.m. it's still cool. Even in the summertime it's not too hot. So hopefully maybe by 10 a.m. and then it starts getting hot and at 12 p.m. or even 1 p.m. as we can see here. So lunchtime, they take a break. Maybe we'll do 12 p.m. Actually, we'll do 1 p.m. Realistically, 10, we got 11, 12, 1. So that's 3 hours. So 3 hours of work. At that time, they take a break. They get lunchtime and so on and so forth. So touring the gardens at 1:30 p.m. Labor of love. Okay. Now, can you see why looking at the typical day is so crucial? And then, of course, we look at a day in the life of a head gardener, of a different head gardener. We look through here. Waking up early, sunlight flooding my bedroom room. She has dogs, so she gets up, gets clean, starts sowing seeds, essentially getting her things ready. And she goes out on the water. So this gives us a better idea of what we're dealing with. Let's see. So that's what I would do. I would just go through here and try to figure out what is their typical day look like. If you need to watch YouTube videos and get a visual perspective of what that looks like, then I highly recommend doing that, but try to map it out all the way to the point that they sleep. And from that point, you have it in hand. And what does this do? This helps you greatly because it tells you exactly, what their frustrations are. So if we just look at here closely, so at this age, maybe they're not sleeping well. Maybe that's a frustration that they're dealing with and they need something to help them sleep better. Or at this point, maybe they're just not getting enough energy when they go out, and you can hone in on that. But you would never know this kind of stuff unless you map out their whole day, right? And that's why it's so crucial. But this in itself will help you understand them a lot better and essentially will help you put yourself in their shoes. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do what we call media mapping and go and take a step further than that and help you get a better perspective of what they like to watch, what they like, what drives them, what's their motivations. So we're taking things a step further. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.